We're sitting right now with Tommy Wallach. The book is We All Looked Up. It's, I'm understanding, going to be on the New York Times bestseller list in just a very short period of time.
Yeah,
we just got
very
word.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. How incredible is that?
It's totally unbelievable.
Yeah.
This kind of thing, for debut novels is really rare and magical and wonderful and good.
Well, let's start a little bit about it, the book. It's an apocalyptic novel.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of interest in that. I've read a lot of adult novels in that. I mean, The Road is a classic, and there's others out there. But it seems like a relatively unexplored territory to some degree in YA. I mean, you're doing it a little bit differently. Tell us a little bit about how you became attracted to the subject.
Yeah, well, I came at it originally, from the adult standpoint too. I always say this movie Melancholia. Have you seen Melancholia?
Yeah.
This deeply depressing Lars von Trier movie about the end of the world. Was kind of the first thing I saw, and then when I thought about it, it occurred to me that it hadn't been done all that much in YA. There are a few books, I shouldn't say never, but it seemed like such a natural leap because the end of the world, this sort of huge, overwrought thing, fits so well with the teenage emotional landscape in so many ways because everything is so enormously huge when you're young, and so to bring those two things together made so much sense. I was really excited.
So for you, you always knew that when you've written other novels, I know, which we will also talk about, but was this a subject, the apocalyptic end of the world scenario, was something that you've always wanted to explore?
Oh, no, most of the other books I wrote were middle of the road literary fiction things for adults. Nobody liked any of them, but I wrote them and now I still have them for myself. But no, this idea came to me just a month before I started writing it. So it wasn't some long dream to do apocalypse fiction or something. Well,
let's talk about that for a second. Let me take a pause then, because you've written 5 or 6 books. You said nobody liked them. You kept writing. Somehow or another, you found your way through this and kept putting pen to paper, despite the fact that you also are a musician but you decided to keep at it. What was it that made you keep plugging?
Oh, well, once you've succeeded, then it looks like sort of perseverance and diligence. Before you've succeeded, it just looks insane. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's that
exactly.
saying about madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Right.
Well, I kept writing books that nobody liked or wanted.
But didn't quit.
But I didn't quit, no.
Why? What kept you going?
It was the dream, It was a dream for a long time, and I was able to do other things at the same time. The great thing about writing is it's not, some people do it this way, but it's not traditionally a 40-hour-a-week job or a 50-hour-a-week job. So you can keep the rest of your life going and just, you keep trying. You do a couple hours a day, every day, year after year after year, and it comes together.
So what were you doing with those manuscripts when they're done? Sticking them in a drawer and never looking at them again? Or were you taking something from them and thinking about how to make the next one better? I mean, how are you doing that?
Oh, certainly both. I put them in a drawer because I had to, but no, I think there are those people out there who can channel all of their sort of talents into one work, and maybe it takes them many years to write, but they just write it and it's brilliant and amazing, and there are plenty of those people out there. And then there are people who have to just write a whole lot of terrible, terrible stuff to get it out of their system or to learn. And it's painful that way, but that was just the way I had to do it, I guess.
And you sensed that was you, that was you or that person?
I sensed that was me, yeah sadly.
No, that's impressive, because I think there's a lot of people that may not have made it as far as you did and wouldn't have been able to get that book onto the New York Times on that 6th book or the 7th book. Or
it was number 7,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an impressive story.
Oh, thanks.
Talk about the characters in the book and the idea of there's a meteor that's coming to the Earth. Mm-hmm. That's the apocalyptic. I can't even say the word.
It's a hard word. It's a tough word.
The end of the world element that you explore. How does that affect the characters in your book?
Oh man, so there are 4 protagonists, and the book alternates between their perspectives in each chapter. So each chapter you get all 4 of them for a brief period of time. And it's different for each. For Peter is sort of this jock athlete type, and he realizes early on that this path he was on to play sports for a living basically might not be fulfilling. And so he begins to sort of doubt that and doubt his romantic relationship and kind of everything about his life. Anita is sort of this overachiever type who's supposed to be an intellectual and go to Princeton, and she starts pursuing kind of an artistic dream to be a musician, which is where the music kind of comes in. There's a slacker kid who kind of always figured that nothing mattered, and so it's slightly confusing for him when suddenly nothing really does matter. and he starts playing music as well. He starts to care about things basically, and he's Andy. And then there's a girl named Eliza, who also pursues kind of an artistic passion with her last moment. So I guess that's where I went to, is that people would kind of cling to the passionate things they always wanted to do but didn't.
So the idea of the melting away of stereotypes and the fact that they really meant so much less in the face of, impending disaster, gives a lot of territory for you to mine and a lot of territory to play with. And there's been other places that's been done really well. You look at something like The Breakfast Club or something like that, where there's kind of the similar concepts, but
Sure.
you throw this idea in of nothing mattering anymore and that sort of stripping everything bare. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, it gives people an opportunity to change, and a lot of, I think, YA books are looking for that as the inciting incident, is what gives these characters a good reason to change. In high school, everybody kind of clings to a certain group pretty strongly. That's why The Breakfast Club still resonates. I just watched it again, by the way, and it totally holds
still
up.
Good.
It's still
Yeah.
good. So this is like an opportunity for kind of everyone to break away from what they had been expected to do.
You're a musician too. And there seems to be now this sort of multi-platform approach, or sort of an organic weaving of different mediums in together. I think YA is really leading that charge, and it seems so natural. But you brought a soundtrack to the equation as well, and you have a career as a musician as well.
Yeah, insofar as you can have a career as a musician, sure.
Yeah.
I'd always been excited to try to bring these two things together. I wrote musicals when I was a kid, or even now. I still want to write musicals, but I love musicals. And I always wanted to bring together sort of story and music as much as possible. And when I was writing this and I realized that a couple of the characters were going to be musicians, that I realized this would be the perfect opportunity to do that, because I could write the songs that they sing in the book, and I could write some other songs that kind of fit with the themes of the book. And that was really exciting for me to be able to finally do that. So
did the songs come after the story, or did you write any of the songs that had it before and they sort of fit them into the...
Yeah, I totally cheated. So it's basically sort of thirds. So a third of the songs I had written, in some cases long before the book, but then I put them in the book as part of the plot, so as part of the songs that the characters write and sing. Right. A third of the songs were written after the fact, when I knew that this was going to happen, and I wanted to write some songs that specifically really fit the story of the book and the plot of the book. The opening track of the album does that. And then a third of the songs were really just songs that I loved, that didn't inherently have anything to do with the book, but I thought still fit thematically, but I just wanted them on there.
It doesn't seem like it's cheating so much. It's like actually thinking about it as a cohesive unit. I mean, really thinking about some affected the text, some came after, and some you just love. I mean, that to me is the whole idea of the sort of merging of these medias. Why was that idea? I mean, obviously you love them both, but there's a lot of people who love both writing and music. Why was it so important for you to merge them, and what do you see as the potential for that going forward?
Sure. Well, I mean, again, in the YA world, which I find myself in and am so excited to be in, YA novels are much more earnest than a lot of adult literary fiction. There's a lot less irony and cynicism and that sort of thing. And that's what music does best too, is earnest emotion. I mean, there's a lot of ironic music too, but that's what my music does best, is earnest emotion. So I think it's particularly exciting in the YA world to have music because they fit together so nicely in that way. They're both deeply emotional.
Do you see this as an element that you're going to put into future books? You're going to continue to think about soundtracks and music elements, and that being sort of a new genre of sorts, sort of a blended genre?
I'd really like to. I think it's a cool thing. Like, I'm already starting to get feedback. The book's only been out for a few weeks, but I'm starting to get feedback through social media that people have really enjoyed experiencing these two things together and being able to read the book and listen to the album at the same time and see how they play with each other. So I'm really excited to do it. Music is still a tough, it's a tough business to make really good music. It takes a lot of time and work and effort and money and stuff, and people aren't buying music like they used to, and I'm such a huge fan of people buying music. I'm like, I don't want to say I'm anti-Spotify, but I try to never use Spotify. I try to always buy the things that I love, but that's a big part of it, is I want to know that people are actually going out there to find it and get it, and if they are, then I'm going to absolutely keep doing it as much as I can.
I think the idea of your event that basically brought the book into the world at Joe's Pub in New York, a great club, which wove the two things together. The idea of the multimedia presentation, I think, has a lot of promise, especially with your crowd, as you mentioned, the YA crowd. I'd love to see more artists blending these two things together. There are other musicians who love to write. I mean, I think of people like Tom Waits and other people all the way, go back, but this is something that I think there's opportunity to really grow and expand.
Absolutely. I'm just like Tom Waits is the upshot. Me and Tom Waits.
That's right.
Just like that.
But I think that there's something here that you are pioneering. You're pushing forward.
I'd love
to see more of it.
Yeah, I'd like to. I've always found readings kind of I don't know if it's something about my brain, but when I go to a reading, I'm just lost in 30 seconds. I can't remember who the characters are or what they're thinking about. I can't picture them. So I always struggle at readings, and it would always be great for me if I went to a reading and they just played a bunch of music. That'd be easier for me. So that's what I'm doing.
I think that would be a nice way to shake up all readings, actually. Let's do more of that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing an event soon with Josh Mallerman, who wrote a book called Bird Box, and Josh sings in a band called The High Strung, and his events are all music.
All music?
Yeah.
There you go.
And he holds up the book at the end.
Right, exactly. That's what you do.
And it works. I mean, but it's also a fun event. It really is.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, we all looked up. I'm really excited for you.
Thanks.
And the fact that you're on the New York Times bestseller is proof positive that if you stick to something,
it works out.
Someday it works out. But they have to have the confidence, obviously, and the talent. That's clearly something you have. Tommy Wallach, really nice to meet you.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Yeah, good luck with everything.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks for being here.